If you're a combat sports athlete, then you might have tried training twice a day, maybe you were preparing for a fight, or just trying to level up your skills faster. But most athletes make these 4 crucial mistakes that mean they actually get worse as a result of training more, and that defeats the entire purpose of it. If you train more, but you end up getting burned out, ill and injured, then what are you spending all the extra time and effort for? Today I'll show you how to avoid these 4 crucial mistakes so you can adjust your diet and your lifestyle to get the most out of your training, whether that's going from 3 to 6 sessions per week or 6 to 12 sessions per week. I'm a sports nutritionist and Muay Thai fighter, and every day I help clients balance fat loss with sports performance. The 4 key areas that athletes make the worst mistakes are fueling, hydration, rebuilding, and recovery. So let's begin with fueling. If you imagine your body is a car, if you're suddenly driving double the distance every day, but you're putting the same amount of fuel in the car, then what's going to happen? It's pretty obvious. But despite that, most fighters don't adjust their carbohydrate, which is our fuel, correctly when they're increasing their training. So firstly, let's look at the total daily amount. During periods of intense training, when trying to maintain weight, I recommend 5 to 7 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram per day. If you're a 70 kilogram athlete, that's 350 to 490 grams of carbs per day. Then let's break that down. So pre-training, I use the 1 to 4 hour rule. That's 1 to 4 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram you weigh in the 1 to 4 hour window before training. So again, using a 70 kilogram athlete, that would be 70 to 280 grams of carbs in that 1 to 4 hour window before training. Intra-training, I recommend consuming some water and then some sports drinks on top of that. A good starting point is aiming for about 30 grams per hour of carbs from these sports drinks, which basically translates to 1 Gatorade, Lucozade Sport, or Powerade per hour. And you only need that really if your sessions are 90 minutes or longer. If your session is an hour or less, your pre-training meal will see you through. Then post-training, I recommend eating ideally within an hour after training, but typically I recommend to my clients just get home, shower, and make food the next thing on your to-do list. And it's a good idea to get some protein and also some carbohydrates in this post-training meal. Now, in terms of specific foods, at your main meals, you can have foods like rice, bread, pasta, and potatoes. And then for snacks, things like fruits, honey, jam, and breakfast cereals. Moving on to the hydration section. Now, it's pretty commonly thrown around that just a 2% body weight loss from dehydration can impair your performance. So we want to avoid dehydration. As a minimum fluid intake, 35 milliliters per kilogram you weigh should be your baseline. Don't go under that, even on rest days. So for a 70 kilo athlete, that's 2.45, round up to 2.5 liters as their minimum baseline. Then on top of that, during training, just bring a bottle or 2 of water with you and drink to thirst. You don't need to be forcing down certain amounts of fluid during training, but after training, you want to drink back 1 to 1.5 liters per kilogram you lose during that training session. Now, you don't have to weigh yourself before and after every session. In fact, I wouldn't recommend it, but do it before 1 or 2, and you'll just have an idea of like, okay, I lose about half a kilogram, I lose about a kilogram over this training session. Therefore, I need to drink back 1 to 1.5 times that amount. Now, when it comes to sodium, if you have a high sweat rate, you feel you sweat a lot. If your sweat is salty, like it stings your eyes, or you get those like salt stains on your shirts when your sweat dries on it. And if your exercise is over 2 hours, then some electrolyte supplements might be a good idea, or you could even make your own homemade, much cheaper one with some water, sugar-free squash, and a couple of pinches of salt. But if you're not sweating a bunch and your training is under 2 hours, you probably don't need to add electrolytes to your fluid, unless you prefer the taste, and if it encourages you to drink more, then who am I to tell you not to? But for most people with a moderate training volume, just adding some salt to their meals throughout the day, just seasoning it to taste, will be adequate. But if those 3 things, salty sweater, high sweat rate, and long exercise over 2 hours apply, then it might be worth having some additional electrolytes during and after training. And just know that all fluid counts towards this, not just water, but also your electrolyte drinks, also coffees, teas, juices, shakes, smoothies, everything counts. To make it easier to stay on top of your hydration, I recommend just carrying a water bottle with you throughout the day. I always keep one by my desk. It just serves as a good visual reminder and means I never forget to drink. Isn't it annoying when someone swoops in and interrupts the video you're watching? That's why I'll keep this as short as possible. In the description box below, there'll be links to my free performance nutrition blueprint, my one-to-one coaching and fighting nutrition course. Back to the video. We've covered the fueling, we've covered the hydration. Let's talk about rebuilding. And this is specifically comes down to protein. For most people, whether you're trying to lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight, 2 grams of protein per kilogram body weight is a good starting point. So if you're 70 kilograms, that's 140 grams of protein per day. Then I recommend spreading this across 3 to 5 meals. That could just be breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or if you prefer, it could be breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 2 snacks. It could be 5 meals at varying times throughout the day. As long as you're splitting that total protein intake, into 3 to 5 servings across the day, then you don't need to worry specifically about exact doses or things like that. The main thing is your total intake, and as long as it's not in like one meal, then you're covering all optimizations there. In terms of foods, this could be chicken, beef, pork, fish, eggs, dairy like yogurt and protein powders, or vegetarian and vegan sources like tofu and tempeh. And when it comes to protein, most of the athletes I speak to actually do pretty decent on the protein front. It's more the carbs that need to be brought up and the fats that need to be brought down. But a good kind of diet hack for protein is buying rotisserie chickens. They're pre-cooked. You just take them home, pull them apart, and you've got like somewhere between 500 to 700 grams of meat ready for the next few days without needing to cook it. That saves time that you could better spend training, working, or resting. So we've got fueling, hydration, rebuilding, now it's recovering. And in my mind, recovery is sleep. I normally recommend that athletes get 7 to 9 hours per night, but that gets shifted to 8 to 10 during periods of very high training. If you're increasing your training from what it was, or if you're going from single to double daily training, definitely add an extra hour to either end of that bracket. Also, getting a midday nap is a great idea, and a lot of this will depend on your work situation. If you're a full-time athlete, you might be able to take like 2 or 3 hours of a nap. Most of us have to work as well, and we can't afford that luxury. Practically 20 to 45 minutes can give you some great benefits without having to structure your entire day around training and sleeping. Make sure you take this nap in a dark and cool room. It doesn't have to be completely silent. Personally, I like to play a comedy podcast in the background. Just helps me relax. It means I'm not getting bored or feeling restless. Personally, since adding a small 30-minute nap between work and training, I feel so much more clear-headed and able to focus during training. No matter how much you love your job, and I love mine a lot, gradual stress and tension builds up throughout the day. Just taking a half an hour nap, just to lie down, have no external input, and let that tension dissipate is hugely beneficial. And then when it comes to bedtime, the one habit I recommend to all my clients, and if I tell them, if you ignore everything else I tell you about sleep, do just this one habit, and that is to not charge your phone by your bedside. I know a lot of you will use your phone as your alarm clock. That's fine if you don't want to buy an extra alarm clock. Then just charge it at a plug away from your bed, so it's not within arm's reach from your bed. Another bonus is when your alarm goes off in the morning, you've got to get out of bed to go across the room and turn the alarm off. And that's really it. It doesn't need to be any more complex than that. When it comes to fueling, make sure you're getting 5 to 7 grams of carbs per kilogram you weigh to optimize your performance. Drink a baseline of 35 ml per kilogram you weigh, plus 1 to 1.5 times whatever you lose during training. Eat at least 2 grams per kilogram body weight of protein, and sleep 8 to 10 hours per night during periods of high training volume. Don't forget to click below for your free performance nutrition blueprint to optimize fat loss and sports performance. And if you found this video on how to survive and thrive when increasing your training volume, then watch this video. I'll show you exactly how to balance lifting with your sports training.